Haldirams. Come on, you know the name. It's practically the name for Indian snacks, right? A taste of home for literally millions of people. But behind that familiar orange packet, wow, there's a story of ambition, innovation, and some just mind-blowing numbers. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how a tiny sweet shop blew up into a billion-dollar global empire. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's just start with a number. Get this. 7,500 crore rupees. That's Haldiram's annual revenue. We're talking well over $1 billion US. This isn't just some successful company, you guys. It's a financial behemoth, built on something as simple as bhujia. Incredible.
So the question is obvious, right? How in the world did they do it? How does a humble little sweet shop in a desert town of all places grow into a global food giant that you can find in over 100 countries? Well, the answer? It's a total masterclass in vision, innovation, and just some incredibly smart business strategy. All right, to really get this whole empire, we have to go back, way back to its roots. And our story doesn't start in some fancy modern boardroom. Nope, it begins in a small shop in the desert city of Bikaner, Rajasthan. So, picture this. It's 1937. A single shop opens in Bikaner, and for over 30 years, that's what it was, a local favorite. But you can tell the ambition was always bigger. The first huge leap, that came in 1970. The family actually moves to Nagpur to build a modern factory. That's a huge sign they're thinking way beyond just one little shop. Then, fast forward to 1982, and they've got their sights set on the capital, opening a flagship store right in the heart of Delhi's crazy busy Chandni Chowk.
But the real explosion, the moment things really took off, that was sparked by the next generation. The founders' grandsons, Shiv Kishan and Manohar Lal Agrawal, they didn't just inherit a business, they inherited a vision. And they added the one secret ingredient that would change everything: modern, disruptive innovation.
Now, to get why their first breakthrough was so huge, you have to understand the biggest problem holding them back. It was simple. Traditional Indian snacks spoiled in under a week. Think about that. That one tiny fact kept the entire industry local. You just couldn't ship it anywhere, you couldn't scale it, your business was basically trapped by the clock.
And this is where Haldirams completely changed the game. They took a shelf life of less than 7 days and stretched it to more than 6 months. I mean, that's not just an improvement, that's a revolution. It completely unlocked the door for a national and, yeah, eventually an international business. So how on earth did they pull that off?
Well, it all came down to a 3-part packaging revolution. First step, they invested in top-of-the-line machinery from other countries. Second, they developed these really durable multi-layer pouches to protect the snacks. And third, and this was the real secret sauce, nitrogen flushing. By pushing out the oxygen and pumping in nitrogen, they could keep the snacks fresh and crunchy for months. It was, no exaggeration, a total game changer.
And the innovation didn't just stop with the packaging, not by a long shot. Get this, they were the first to actually brand namkeens, turning something you'd buy loose into a trusted product. They pioneered 100% automation in an industry that was all handmade, which meant quality and hygiene were guaranteed. They even reinvented the whole street food experience with their quick service restaurants, making favorites like Pani Puri safe and accessible for everybody. See, they weren't just following trends, they were literally creating them.
So, okay, innovation solved the production problem. That's huge. But a great product is totally useless if you can't sell it, right? To conquer a market as massive and diverse as India, well, that required a whole different kind of genius. It required a complete mastery of business fundamentals. Now, for anyone who's ever stepped inside a business class, you've heard of the 4 Ps. They're legendary. It's a classic marketing framework, and honestly, Haldirams executed it to absolute perfection. They built their entire strategy around these 4 pillars: product, price, place, and promotion.
Let's start with product. They offered something like 400 different varieties. I mean, that's just staggering. There was literally something for everyone. But here's the really brilliant part. They understood that India doesn't have just one single taste. So they customized their snacks for different regions, like Marukas for the south and special Gujarati mixes for the west. They didn't just sell to India, they sold to all of India's different tastes.
Next up, price. Now look at this. The absolute masterstroke here was the 5 rupee packet. That tiny, affordable pack made Haldirams an impulse buy for millions of people. It didn't matter who you were, a student, a CEO, anyone. You can afford a little taste of Haldirams.
This pricing strategy was absolutely key to getting into every single corner of the market.
Then there's Place, and we're talking about their distribution network. It is an absolute, unstoppable logistics machine. I mean, from the factories to the agents to this massive web of distributors, they managed to reach over 500,000 retail outlets. So what's the result? Whether you're in a shiny city supermarket or a tiny village Kirana store, you're going to find Haldirams. It's just everywhere.
And finally, promotion. They didn't really need a bunch of flashy celebrity ads. Their whole promotional strategy was simple, it was consistent, and it was powerful. This tagline, always in good taste, it just said everything. It was a simple promise of quality and flavor that basically became the brand itself.
Okay, so after basically conquering the entire Indian market, what's the next logical step? The world, of course. They took a product that is quintessentially Indian and turned it into a global phenomenon.
Over 100. Just let that number sink in. That's how many countries you can now buy Haldirams in. We're talking from the US to the UK, the Middle East to Australia. First, they tapped into the global Indian community, and then they crossed over to mainstream international customers. Super smart.
And their market share? It's just staggering. Even with all the intense competition out there, they hold a commanding 37% of the traditional snacks market. I mean, that is a dominant position by any measure you can think of. And it was built over decades of just being consistent with quality and being smart with business.
And, their global status isn't just about how much they sell, it's officially recognized. They've been named a star export house by the Indian government. They're members of major international snack food associations in the US and the UK. Stuff like this gives them major credibility and a real seat at the global table.
So when you look at this whole journey, right, from a single tiny shop to a global force, you have to ask, what's the real secret ingredient here? What are the core principles that actually built this massive snack empire?
Well, if we break it down, their strengths are just immense. I mean, you've got powerful brand awareness, a huge variety of products, and a massive market share. Now, on the flip side, yeah, they have some weaknesses, like not spending a ton on ads, and they're facing serious threats from some big competitors. But their opportunities, like finding better ways to work with retailers, show they've still got plenty of room to grow.
This quote right here about their expansion into London, it really says it all. It shows that same strategic, forward-thinking mindset they've had since day one. They're focused on the fundamentals, logistics, having the right workers, and knowing their customers. It just proves they're not just selling snacks. They are meticulously building a global food business, piece by piece.
So, at the end of the day, we're left with this big question. Haldirams was built on this really unique family recipe for success, right? A deep respect for tradition mixed with just relentless innovation. But as they get bigger and bigger, as they become this massive global corporation, can they keep that magic formula alive? I guess that's going to be the next chapter in the incredible story of this snack empire.